Welcome back to Building Bold, Blueprint for a Better Massachusetts. We've reached the final episode of this three-part series on Salem State University's Project Bold and the North Campus Decarbonization Project. So far, we've explored Salem State's partnership with DCAM, the push for modern infrastructure and sustainable energy, and the vital role the university plays in fueling the North Shore's workforce. Today, we're shifting our focus to the future, the students. Returning to the podcast is SSU Provost and Academic Vice President David Silva. He's here to break down the academic evolution sparked by Project Bold. We'll learn about the specific transformations coming to Meier Hall and the Horace Mann building, and why these upgrades are the key to unlocking student potential.
So Bold is a key that really will unlock a whole lot of potential on two dimensions. There is the piece of it that is the addition to the main academic building from which I speak to you today, Meier Hall. And I get to see that every single day as I walk by in the building and see that progress going on. And that will provide us with some really great state-of-the-art teaching labs. We are a teaching university. Our faculty have to do some research. We encourage our students to engage in research, but our primary focus is on teaching. So those labs will be teaching ready, flexible, and really better equipped to provide our students with a kind of in-class and in-lab experience, hands-on experience that they will need to take out with them into the workforce or into graduate school or into both of them in whichever order. The other element is the complete overhaul of the Horace Mann building will be the new home to the McGuire, Missouri College of Health and Human Services. And once again, it's about unlocking that potential. We have 5 departments in that college. 4 of them will be located in that building. One is in its own space. And those include criminal justice, healthcare studies, occupational therapy, and nursing. And so not only will our facilities be better than what we have, but from a practical operational point of view, these new facilities will allow us to build capacity in terms of the number of students that we can provide education to. It will have simulation labs where we will be able to train nurses in ways that are controllable. You know, it's great to have a nursing students out there in the clinical settings, but you take what comes in because it's the real world, right? But in a simulated setting, we get to control those things. So things they might not ever see in the clinical context, those can be presented to them in simulation. And so it's a vital part of their training as well. And we will have so much more opportunity to do that. Potential. It's all great.
That's a great recap of Project Bold. Now, let's take a closer look at the Horace Mann building and those state-of-the-art simulation labs. These simulated, academic spaces. Is that something that you saw modeled on other campuses that you were like, oh, this would be an awesome thing to implement? Here are some case studies or examples of what other schools have done, or, we're going to really push the possibilities and see what we can actually do.
So as part of the process for preparing for Bold, there was a team of folks, and most importantly, they were the leadership of those departments in the College of Health and Human Services, and they did a bit of touring around to spaces that had been recently renovated. And they brought back reports that suggested ways in which we could make these lab simulation and lab skill spaces the best that they could be for our students.
Every one of these spaces is going to have something that resembles real work-life environment, right? So the simulation labs, the head walls that has all the plugs and outlets and gauges and stuff over the beds, we went to the local hospitals and we looked at the systems that they had in place to make sure that our students will see the same kinds of systems when they graduate or start doing their rotations or externships, right? The hospital beds are the same exact hospital beds that they're going to see in the ER, right? We want to make sure that they are as comfortable with the transition from academic life to professional life as possible. And again, we talk about the obvious, right? We talk about the simulation labs and the biology and chemistry labs, but we've tried to do that with every aspect of these projects.
That was Luigi Marcone, Assistant Vice President for Capital Planning and Facilities at Salem State, describing how the university's labs were designed to mirror real-life medical facilities. At the Operational Services Division, we also know a thing or two about laboratory equipment, leveraging sourcing expertise for the health and medical contract category. While there are many ways to source these supplies, our statewide contracts offer streamlined access to the same types of high-caliber items Luigi just described. As Provost Silva mentioned, Project Bold is unlocking potential for Salem State students, but it's also unlocking a newfound sense of campus pride. To get a first-hand perspective, I spoke with third-year student Caroline Sciarratta about her experience at SSU, how Project Bold has shaped her journey so far, and the hope she has for future students who will benefit from these changes on campus.
My name is Caroline Sciarratta. I am a third-year student. I'm a bio major with a biomedical science concentration with a minor in chemistry and Italian.
So how does seeing Salem State invest so heavily in these new campus facilities and classrooms and labs, how does that affect your sense of pride and your perception of the value of your degree that you're getting there?
I chose Salem State in the end for their valuable programs and the amount of community they offer on campus. And one thing I really loved at Salem State was how accessible the faculty and professors seemed. So it's kind of awesome to now see equipment in these labs and classrooms that's reflecting the quality of education I feel like I'm getting at Salem State. I take a lot of pride in being a student here. I've really kind of fallen in love with the SSU community. And especially in the bio department, we have some really great faculty and professors. So it's going to be awesome, even when I leave here, to see that kind of the next generation behind me is going to have the equipment to reflect the quality of education that we get here at Salem State. And that's kind of continued in pride, for the legacy that I'm going to leave behind.
As part of Project Bold, the Commonwealth sold the South Campus. And I spoke to President Keenan about how important it was to do that, to unify the campus and build a stronger sense of community. So how do you believe that unification of the South Campus into the North Campus will just change how students interact and connect with each other?
So I know that South Campus is primarily nursing and criminal justice, and I can dip my toes in some way because I live with two nursing majors. But also, part of community is that I'm part of a dance club on campus that performs in the South Campus gym. And I know, directly from that, is that sometimes getting people to come, it's oh, South Campus, I gotta walk there or get a ride, because it's kind of a ways out of North Campus. So there's that disconnect. But also, even in the mornings when I would get up for class and my two nursing major friends would be going their separate ways to South Campus, sometimes the best part of the day is having friends to walk to and from classes with. Additionally, I do feel like North Campus has more events that are offered to students that are passing by. Ellison Campus Center always has some events that are happening, or even on the North Campus quad itself in front of the library, there's sometimes even food trucks out. And I think about how when I'm walking to class, and sometimes I just stop and opportunities right there to participate in some campus event. People that go to South Campus and primarily have classes there don't really get those opportunities that kind of just come up. So I think the unification of having the South Campus classes and the students basically move to the North Campus would be really good, just to help build that sense of community, even just in passing. Because sometimes that's the most important thing, is that you want to feel recognized on this campus. You see a professor that, stops and says hi to you. Sometimes that can make your day. Or you see a friend that oh, let's grab lunch after class, since you're already here, where are you off to? It's just having those small conversations really does help build that sense of community on campus. So I think kind of having it in a more of a congested area where everyone can kind of cross paths when class gets out is really important.
What are you hoping future generations of SSU students are going to reap from Project Bold and the decarbonization project that's going toward all these sustainability efforts on the campus?
I think the best thing we can do is leave a place better than we found it. And that's what I'm kind of hoping to do here. And knowing that there's going to be classes after me for generations to come, that's going to be their facilities, and they get to do their science labs in places that I haven't even experienced before. It's actually really cool, honestly, to think about. It's good to know that this place isn't going to go away as soon as I leave. It's going to only get better.
We're nearing the end of this episode, but the story of Project Bold is just beginning. Throughout this series, we've heard from voices across the Commonwealth, from university leadership to executive department staff to the students themselves. Joining that conversation for the first time is Dr. Marcos Luna, a professor of geography and sustainability at Salem State University for more than 20 years. He leads our final reflection with some words of wisdom.
I think the decarbonization of this campus is important on a variety of levels. The primary purpose is to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions so that we're not contributing to further climate change. Our students are coming to us and they are aware that climate change is a real thing. It's a risk. It's a problem. It affects their futures and it affects their present. And amongst all the other things that they're worried about, getting a job and just finishing school, here's this another thing that's hanging over their heads. And so, it used to be when I first started teaching here that I had to teach people about this problem. And now I really don't need to, they don't need to be told that it's a problem. They know that. And it's an issue and they take it seriously. And I think that to the extent that we are demonstrating our commitment to addressing that problem, we're providing a living example of living our values. We talk about these problems, at least in an academic setting, and they can be abstract. And they can seem overwhelming too. Like, it's this global problem. What am I going to do about it? And to the extent we can look at like decarbonization at Salem State and Project Bold, and we can say this is what it looks like. And I think it's also a great lesson for a place that's about teaching and about teaching about sustainability.
Key voices from the series return to reinforce how Project Bold and the decarbonization of SSU serve as the blueprint for a better Massachusetts.
It's a great moment for Salem State. I have a wonderful team here, but it's an extremely proud moment for me as well as I lead my hometown institution as it evolves to meet the workforce needs of the 21st century. And certainly that includes nursing profession, the STEM, biotechs, all those sorts of areas that this project is going to support. And hopefully we'll leave it in a place where, the next president and the next leadership that comes to Salem State will be able to carry it on from there.
We are trying to be exceptional neighbors. We are trying to be exceptional stewards. And the investments that we are making through DCAM and through the Commonwealth, and that the Commonwealth is making on our behalf, will really secure our position in the community.
I guess the last thing I would highlight is I have been very impressed by the level of collaboration that's been involved to get us to this point, and that will propel us forward. We want to thank the designers and the architects, the engineers, the faculty administrators who have played a role in thinking about what these buildings could be and what they could house and what they could do for us. The collaboration is today and it is the future, and it is increasingly the future. And this project with its two facets really showcased that collaboration in such great ways. And so I would be remiss if I didn't express my gratitude to all the people who collaborated in it, because it's together that we're going to make this really great thing happen.
This concludes Building Bold, Blueprint for a Better Massachusetts. On behalf of the Operational Services Division, the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance, and Salem State University, thank you for joining us to learn about the public initiatives shaping the future of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. If you found this series valuable, help us spread the word. Share it with anyone interested in how state government really works, the future of higher education, or the sustainability efforts building a cleaner, healthier environment. To learn more about OSD's procurement activities and statewide contracts, visit mass.gov/OSD. Follow us on social media at mass_OSD, or check the links in the description. If you're looking for more deep dives into the power of public procurement, check out OSD's flagship podcast series, WOSD News, Procurement Insights, available monthly on the OSD YouTube channel. A special thank you to our esteemed guests from Salem State University and DCAM who made this series possible. This podcast was produced, audio engineered, and edited by me, Layla Palmer. Thank you for listening.